Hi everybody, I just wanted to give you a quick flip through of a little concertina I made while I was on a trip to Florida. So it's kind of a funny trip because it didn't work out at all as I had hoped or planned, and you know, isn't that how life is? So I still was able to do a little bit of art, and I created this. So here's my little flip through. I decided I wanted a square format on this one, and we drove 2 days down there and got to the campground, and it's all just tons of palmetto palms all over the place and lots of scrub. It was sort of central Florida. So many interesting shapes in the bark and in the foliage. And the colors are really interesting too. There's sort of a muted brown, kind of a gray green, and then there's some spring green where the sun is hitting. Lots of almost frenetic energy in the foliage there. Unfortunately, my dog is allergic to all of the stuff that's underneath these palmetto palms, apparently, so he started sneezing the night after I painted this, which was the first day there, and didn't stop the whole next day and that whole night, so we turned around and came back home again, so it was a very quick trip. But it was enough to, you know, there's a big picnic table there, and so I spread this out on it. I had prepared this a little bit with some gesso and some, you know, just pencil lines so that I didn't have quite the white page to be looking at. And the gesso repels things or absorbs watercolor in different ways, which is interesting to me. I love the shape of that. That turned out really cool. This is just watercolor and Stabilo all. So I had a lot of ability to move things around with water and play around with the resists and things like that. There were telephone poles bringing power into the campground, although we didn't have power at our campsite, which was just fine. Some interesting kind of wobbly little fence lines were there. And this is the shack where we check in, a little place where they sell wood. I wasn't even able to get to the springs. This is Juniper Springs Campground. The springs are absolutely gorgeous, but they wouldn't let me take the dog there, and I was only there for a day, so I didn't get there. So I finished some of this when I got home because I just didn't have enough time to do all of that in one afternoon, and I didn't know what to do with the backside, so I just wrote. It's really not important what I wrote on here, but I used text a lot. I used text in watercolor, and then I went over it with Stabilo and kind of smeared it, and then I used a water-soluble ink just to help me remember, and I also used some water-soluble pencil just to help me remember the experience, right? And, you know, the things that happened, even though it was quick. And this was just a way to help me fill out the backside. And I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I think it was, it's interesting. It's visually interesting. So that made me, you know, I feel content with that. I thought it was an interesting experience. I took a very limited palette of watercolor with me, and I only used about 4 or 5 colors, which really helps with cohesion through the book. It's all the same colors on both sides, so it holds together really nicely. And so that's a quick tour of my Florida trip that was 2 days down, 1 day there, and 2 days back. Hope you enjoyed it.